Hey, this is Jacqueline. Living in the heart of the city felt like a dream. Our condo, tucked in between the endless skyline and the hum of downtown, was where we carved out our corner of peace. Emily and I had been together for 4 years, and in those years, our life together was smooth, a quiet routine that wrapped around us like a warm blanket. We were graphic designers, both of us caught in the vibrant chaos of the creative world, but when we came home, it was always just us, simple, easy. From the beginning, Emily had been upfront about her ideas of relationships. She talked about non-monogamy casually, as if it were just another option on the table. I remember the night she brought it up, leaning against the counter in our tiny kitchen, the soft hum of the fridge in the background. "What would you think about it?" she asked, her voice calm, almost curious. "You know, exploring a few things outside of us, together. A bit of freedom." I didn't hesitate. "I'm not into it," I said. I could see the glimmer in her eyes, the understanding. I made it clear, monogamy was my thing. She nodded, accepting it, no pushback. We were fine, as solid as we ever could be. In the months that followed, we built a life together. There were late nights, shared projects, laughing over breakfast or scrambling to meet deadlines. We traveled when we could. Our favorite spot was the old bookstore by the river, its musty smell and rickety shelves holding treasures we'd stumble upon like discoveries made just for us. Everything about us felt easy. No complications, no doubts. For 3.5 years, we were in sync, the rhythm of our life together never missing a beat. Emily and I didn't just work well together professionally, we knew each other inside and out. We had deep talks, shared dreams, and understood the little things that made the other tick. She had this way of making everything feel like an adventure, even on our most ordinary days. The art on the walls was a testament to that, each piece telling a part of our story. Our home wasn't just where we lived, it was a reflection of everything we had built. I thought that was enough. Then, as time passed, things started to change, slowly at first. It wasn't obvious, not at first. At first, I chalked it up to the usual things, work pressures, life getting in the way. But the shifts were there. Tiny, subtle things I couldn't quite place. At dinner one evening, Emily brought it up again, a passing comment about evolving relationships. It seemed like a casual remark at the time, but there was an underlying meaning I couldn't ignore. "I don't know," she said, stirring her wine glass. "Maybe we could explore some new dynamics together." I swallowed my unease. "What do you mean, exactly?" Her smile was small, a little too careful. "You know, seeing things from a different perspective. It could be fun." I nodded, letting it sit between us, unsure of how to respond. The moment felt off, but I couldn't put a finger on why. She was distant in ways I hadn't noticed before, small things, like less time spent curled up on the couch or sharing a quiet breakfast on the weekends. It was like the bond that held us together was starting to fray, slowly, a little bit at a time. I tried not to let it bother me. We were both busy, right? I told myself it was nothing more than the weight of our careers. I didn't want to overthink it, but still, something tugged at me. The cracks were small, invisible even, but they were starting to form. It started small, so small I couldn't even pinpoint the moment it all shifted. Maybe it was the late nights she'd spend on her laptop, the glow of the screen reflecting off her glasses, her face hidden behind that quiet intensity. Maybe it was the sudden detachment when we'd have dinner, her attention divided between her phone and whatever we were talking about. She'd nod, laugh at the right moments, but something was missing. Something wasn't there like it used to be. At first, I tried to ignore it. Work had ramped up for both of us, deadlines were tighter, pressure was higher. I couldn't blame her for being distracted. I was distracted too, caught up in my own projects. But as the weeks dragged on, the distance between us grew, like an invisible thread that unraveled without either of us pulling it. She started saying things, offhand comments that made me wonder. Maybe we should evolve, you know? Expand our horizons. The way she said it, like it was nothing, made my stomach tighten. I brushed it off at first, assuming she was just rambling in her usual way. But it didn't stop. It wasn't the first time Emily had dropped hints about exploring new dynamics in our relationship. We had talked about it before, early on when we were still figuring out who we were together. She'd brought up non-monogamy more than once, each time with that same curious tone in her voice, testing the waters. But we'd settled it. I was clear about my boundaries, monogamy was where I stood, no hesitation. She accepted that, or so I thought. Now, she was bringing it up again. Casually, like it was just another idea, another conversation for us to have over coffee or dinner. But this time, it felt different. The way she looked at me, like she was waiting for something, like I was supposed to be ready for it. We could share experiences together, she said one night, her voice so smooth, so casual. It could be fun. We could grow together, you know? Her eyes, wide and hopeful, told me more than her words did. She wanted me to say yes. She wanted me to say something that would change everything. I felt that familiar knot tighten in my chest. I don't think that's something I want, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, even though everything in me was screaming not to go down that road again. She didn't push, not right away. But the energy in our home shifted. The late nights grew longer, and not just because of work. Emily started spending more time with our mutual friends, leaving me to handle the quiet at home. There were dinners I spent alone, where the only sound was the click of my own fork against the plate. Emily would be out, her phone buzzing with messages from someone I didn't know. I didn't ask about it. It was none of my business, right? But it was hard not to notice how she'd start texting as soon as she got home, like she couldn't wait to get back to whatever was happening on the other side of the screen. The time we spent together grew shorter. I convinced myself it was the stress of our jobs. We were both stretched thin, after all. Maybe I was being paranoid, I thought. Maybe I was imagining things. But the gaps kept widening. Little by little, the moments we shared seemed to vanish. The quiet mornings with coffee, the evenings wrapped up in movies or old albums. It wasn't that we fought. No, we didn't argue. Not yet. It was the absence, the silence in our conversations, the little ways we no longer seemed to care the same. I remember one night, sitting on the couch while Emily stood by the window, gazing out at the city lights. She wasn't looking at me, not really. She was looking past me, past everything we'd built. You know, she said softly, almost to herself, sometimes, things need to change to stay alive. To grow. You said it yourself. She turned, her eyes meeting mine, a quiet challenge there. I nodded, unsure what to say. I couldn't bring myself to confront it, not yet. The change was subtle, insidious, creeping in when I wasn't paying attention. It wasn't the loud crash of a breaking bond, it was the silence that followed it. And I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know if I could. It starts at dinner. I'm staring at my plate, but my appetite's long gone. Emily sits across from me, swirling her wine. She's been quiet, almost detached, for days, and the words I've been holding in claw their way out. We need to talk. She doesn't look up. About what? About us. I set my fork down, the clink louder than it should be. About these ideas you keep bringing up. Emily sighs, finally meeting my eyes. Jacqueline, it's not a big deal. People evolve. Relationships evolve. There it is again. My voice tightens. You keep saying that, but what does it mean? What are you trying to tell me? She leans back, swirling her glass like the conversation's an inconvenience. It means we could try something new. Explore. Together. Together? I scoff, the word bitter. You mean seeing other people? That's what this is about, isn't it? Her jaw tightens, but she doesn't deny it. It's not about losing what we have. It's about adding to it. Growing. Don't you trust me? I stare at her, the question cutting deep. This isn't about trust. It's about boundaries I was clear about from the start. Monogamy isn't negotiable for me. And what about me? She shoots back, her voice rising. I've tried to be what you want, but I'm not happy anymore. I need more. We need more. We? I stand, the chair scraping against the floor. Don't drag me into this. You're the one who's changed. If you're unhappy, say it, but don't act like this is for both of us. She sets her glass down sharply, wine sloshing over the edge. You're so stuck in your ways. You don't even see how much we're missing out on. Missing out? I laugh, but it's hollow. What exactly are we missing, Emily? Tell me, because from where I'm standing, it feels like you've already decided for both of us. Her silence says everything. She storms off, the bedroom door slamming behind her. I stand there, heart pounding, staring at the empty space she left. The days that follow are colder than anything I've ever known. Emily moves into the spare room, her presence a shadow of what it used to be. We speak only when necessary, grocery lists, rent payments, nothing else. The silence between us grows louder, heavier, until it's suffocating. Our friends notice the shift. One night, over drinks, someone finally asks, "Is everything okay with you too?" I fake a smile, blame work stress, and change the subject. But their concerned glances linger. Then, one of them pulls me aside after dinner. "Jacqueline, I don't want to stir the pot," she says, hesitant, "but have you noticed how much time Emily's been spending with Mark lately?" Mark. His name feels like a punch to the gut. I try to brush it off, to tell myself it's nothing. But the seed of doubt is planted, and I can't stop it from growing. At home, the distance between us feels insurmountable. Every quiet evening, every closed door, every glance that doesn't quite meet mine, it all feeds the suspicion gnawing at me. I can feel the cracks spreading, widening with every passing day. And I'm starting to wonder if the foundation of everything we've built has already crumbled. It happens late at night, the kind of hour when every word cuts deeper. Emily's sitting in the living room, scrolling through her phone, her face lit by the cold glow of the screen. I've had enough. The distance, the silence, the hints from friends, it's been eating away at me. We need to talk, I say, stepping into the room. She doesn't even flinch. I'm tired, Jacqueline. Tired of what? I snap. Me? This? Us? Because that's what it feels like. Her eyes finally meet mine, wary but sharp. I'm not doing this right now. No, my voice cracks through the room. We're doing this now. You've been hiding something, Emily, and I deserve the truth. She sets her phone down slowly, like she's buying time. You're overreacting. You're always so paranoid. Am I? I take a step closer, my chest tight. Tell me then. What's going on with you? With Mark? The name lands like a grenade. Her eyes widen for a fraction of a second before narrowing. Who's been talking to you? That's not an answer. She stands abruptly, her movements jerky. You've been listening to gossip. Our friends don't understand us. They're always in our business. Emily. My voice drops, quieter but no less firm. Stop deflecting. Be honest with me, for once. Her arms cross over her chest, her breathing uneven. Fine. You want honesty? Here it is. Her words come fast, sharp, like she's been waiting to unload them. Mark and we've been seeing each other. The room tilts. I grip the back of the chair to steady myself. You're having an affair? She doesn't flinch, doesn't soften. It wasn't planned. It just happened. But I couldn't stop it. I didn't want to. The confession hits harder than I thought it would. How long? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. 3 months. She looks away. It started when you went to Seattle. 3 months. 3 months of lies, of sharing our space, of coming home to me like nothing was wrong. And you brought him here? My voice rises, shaking with disbelief. To our home? Emily's silence is answer enough. I shake my head, a bitter laugh escaping before I can stop it. You didn't even have the decency to keep it out of this space. What else, Emily? What other bombs are you waiting to drop? Her expression shifts, a flicker of guilt crossing her face before she steels herself. I'm pregnant. The words hang in the air, heavier than anything she's said before. My breath catches, my mind racing. Pregnant? It's Mark's, she says quietly, but there's no apology in her tone. I didn't know how to tell you. You didn't know how to tell me? I repeat, my voice rising again. You weren't going to tell me, Emily. You were going to keep lying, weren't you? Her silence answers that too. What was your plan? I ask, my voice trembling with anger and heartbreak. To keep me here while you played house with him? While you raised his child? She finally meets my eyes, her expression defensive. I thought maybe we could make it work. Together. Co-parenting, or something. I laugh again, but it's hollow, brittle. You thought I'd stay? After this? You've always been so rigid, Jacqueline, she snaps, her voice rising now. I was trying to find a solution that worked for everyone. You're the one who can't see beyond your own rules. My body feels frozen, but my mind races. I don't even respond. I grab my keys and walk out, her voice trailing behind me, calling my name. I stay at a friend's place that night. The next day, she tries to call, text, anything to get through to me. I let the notifications pile up, each one a reminder of how far apart we've drifted. On the third day, I answer one of her calls, more out of exhaustion than anything else. It wasn't supposed to happen this way, she says, her voice shaky. I didn't want to hurt you, Jacqueline. You didn't want to hurt me? I say, bitterness creeping into every word. You slept with him in our home. You kept it from me for months. You're pregnant with his child. You didn't just hurt me, Emily, you destroyed us. There's silence on the other end, and for the first time, I hear her cry. But the sound doesn't move me. It doesn't change what she's done. When I hang up, I don't feel relief or closure. Just an emptiness I've never felt before. I move out within a week. There's no point dragging it out. A friend lets me crash in her spare room while I hunt for a new place. Emily doesn't fight me on breaking the lease, though she tries calling. I don't answer. Her texts shift from apologies to excuses, then to accusations. I delete them all. Packing feels surreal. Every item reminds me of her, of us. The throw pillows we picked out together, the mugs from that flea market in Portland, even the stupid magnetic poetry on the fridge. I leave most of it behind. It doesn't feel like mine anymore. The night before I leave, Emily shows up. No warning, no invite, just her, standing in my friend's driveway. She's holding her belly like it's a shield. We need to talk, she says. I don't invite her in. There's nothing left to say. She steps closer, her voice sharpening. You're acting like this is all my fault. Like you didn't push me to this. My jaw tightens. I pushed you? You were gone all the time, she fires back. Work always came first. I tried to make it work, Jacqueline. You didn't even try to understand what I needed. Don't twist this, I snap, my voice louder than I intend. You cheated. You lied. You brought him into our home. This isn't on me. She reaches for my arm, but I step back. You don't get to rewrite this, Emily. Not anymore. Her face crumples, but I can't bring myself to care. She leaves without another word. The fallout spreads quickly. Emily's version of the story makes its way through our mutual friends, but the truth surfaces just as fast. Mark's involvement, the pregnancy, everything. Support pours in for me, texts, calls, even a few long overdue apologies from people who'd been distant lately. I avoid social media. I don't need to see her posts or the comments. Instead, I focus on practicalities, signing a new lease, transferring utilities, setting up a fresh start. One night, my friend brings home a stray cat she found by her office. A scrappy orange tabby with one ear slightly crooked. You need a roommate, she jokes, but I surprise myself by agreeing. Naming him Murphy feels right, he's a little broken, but resilient. I take time off work, something I haven't done in years. Mornings become quiet rituals, coffee on the tiny balcony, Murphy curling around my ankles. Afternoons are spent walking the city, rediscovering places I'd forgotten I loved. Emily tries one last time to call. I let it ring out. The guilt doesn't linger as long as I thought it would. I let myself grieve, but I don't let it define me. Therapy helps, too, a space to unpack everything, to make sense of how I lost myself in trying to hold us together. Eventually, I stop checking my phone, hoping she'll text. I stop flinching when someone mentions her name. I even stop replaying that last conversation in my head, wondering if I could have said something to change her. I meet new people, kind, thoughtful people who remind me what healthy connection feels like. I rediscover parts of myself I'd buried under the weight of compromise and disappointment. One evening, as the sun sets over my new neighborhood, I find myself smiling. Not because everything's perfect, it isn't, but because, for the first time in years, I feel like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be.